But now we finna dive into the top 5 teams going into the WNBA season.
Mhm.
Since I kicked this one off, Cole Johnson's on the right for you to kick this off. Who you have at number 5?
All right, well, number 5. All right. uh, Even though I really don't think it truly does matter, 405.
Four, four or five. Jeez.
I'll say this. I'll say whew, I have a hard time choosing between another team that I want to pick, but I'll throw the Fever there. I'll say the Fever at 5.
Indiana Fever
Yeah,
coming in at number
I'm gonna say the
5
Fever.
by Cole Johnson. Why are you
Yeah.
putting the Fever at 5?
I think they had that taste of the playoffs. That second half run, I think, was really good for them. And I think the biggest thing for them is Caitlin Clark had a full offseason to rest. So I think we'll see a big jump in productivity from her, and I think we'll see a more coalescing of her being the leader of the team. Now the question would be, how soon will they all be on board? And the sooner they are on board, the better that team will be sooner. But I just think there's too many good teams right now that are championship ready than the Fever, and I don't think the Fever can eclipse them yet.
Hmm. He has the Fever at number 5. Who do I have at number 5? Anybody want to take a guess? No guesses? The Phoenix Mercury coming in at number 5.
Really?
The
Okay.
Phoenix Mercury coming in at number 5.
Okay.
Now 1921 lost in the first round to the Minnesota Lynx 2-0. Diana Taurasi retired. Brittany Griner signed with the Atlanta Dream. Shout out to Kuma Kane. But they did trade it for Lisa Thomas and Satu Sabli to go along with Kylie Copper. I like what the Dallas Wings did. Shout out to Megan Price. They drafting Paige Beckers, bringing Dejanay Carrington from the Connecticut Sun, bringing in Nalisa Smith from the Indiana Fever, formerly of the Indiana Fever. I like what they did. Still got Enrique over there, but more so if you saw my top 5 pick, South 2 was the difference for me. Going from Dallas to Phoenix, I'm like, man, that's a big move. That's the move that I'm looking forward to the most. So number 5, the Phoenix Mercury.
Okay.
So Cole Johnson said Indiana. I wasn't expecting that one.
Mhm.
He said Indiana. Indiana came in number 5 on Cole Johnson's, but Indiana came in at number 4 for me.
Okay.
Obviously, 20-20 last year, first round loss to the Connecticut Suns. As we mentioned earlier, Caitlin Clark, Rookie of the Year. Bringing new coach, former Connecticut Suns coach, Stephanie White. Not only that, former Connecticut Suns player, Dewan Obama, signed there. And then former Dallas Wings / Atlanta Dream / wherever else she played at, Natasha Howard signed with the Indiana Fever. And then I think the move that really sent it over the top, Cole Johnson, is that last row right here. Traded for Sophia Cunningham from the Phoenix Mercury.
Mhm.
You already, Caitlin Clark is already who she is. Now you gave her a sniper? Oh no. Y'all gave her a.
Well,
I love Claire Copper. I love Phoenix. But when you got rid of her and she went to Indiana, I was like, why would you give a dangerous player like Caitlin Clark a sniper like Cunningham? So now you have Stephanie White, and now you bring in DeWanna Obama, who knows how Stephanie White language is when it comes to basketball, that she can relate to the rest of the team. You bring another force in with Natasha Howard. So you have Natasha Howard, DeWanna Obama, and Leah Boston in your front court. Come on now. And then you kept Kelsey Mitchell. Obviously, Caitlin Clark's the face of the franchise. And now you bring in Sophie Cunningham. Ugh. Whenever they catch rhythm, look out. That's my number 4. What's your number 4, sir?
You're higher on the fever than I thought you'd be. Actually, for me, it'd be the Mercury, and yes, for the aforementioned things you said, but for me also, um, I think the Mercury, they, how can I put this in a nice way? So you had the old guard with Brittany Griner and Diana Taurasi. So one's retired, the other now is on the Atlanta Dream. And sort of with the what we've talked about earlier, it's sort of the Mercury sort of is like out with the old and in with the new. And I think with the infusion of more youth and the infusion of more talent, I believe we're going to see a step up, and the Mercury are going to actually show us that they're ready to compete again.
We literally flipped 4 and 5.
Yeah. hmm I just don't have. Although the Fever have a good amount of talent, I just don't know if it could gel enough for them to act, for them where I could say, I could actually see them being one of the final 4 teams left in the playoffs.
Like I said, Sophia Cunningham coming to Indiana. That was the kill. That was the check mark
hmm
for me. I'm like, damn, they got a sniper. Like,
hmm
damn, why you gave Caitlin? Y'all can't Caitlin call a sniper. That's like the most dangerous thing to do right now.
So obviously they're gonna be playing a lot of Inside Out.
Man, these two boy. I'm telling you, any other. If you're a Caitlin Clark fan, I don't mind you being a Caitlin Clark fan. This is the year you can get excited and all that good stuff. But y'all don't talk basketball knowledge when y'all do talk. That's my only problem.
Yeah,
If you can talk basketball knowledge, then we can have a conversation.
because the only way you actually, with my basketball knowledge, the only way you would want to get snipers is, well, the only 2 reasons you would get snipers. One, you don't want to have it rely. You don't want one guy to be the, or one woman to be the one to actually have to take all the shots deep all the time, and somebody's got to cook down low.
They got 3 that can cook
So
down low.
somebody's got to cook down low. And if you have a bevy of women that could cook down low, whew.
That's what Indiana has.
hmm Yeah.
They got the inside and they have the outside covered now. I'm like,
hmm
now, can my only thing with Indiana, and the reason why they at number 4, even
hmm
though that's higher than what Coach John thought I was gonna put them at. What is Caitlin Clark going to do on the defensive end? What is Kelsey Mills going to do? What are your guards going to do on the defensive end? I ain't
I
worried about the
love that
inside.
challenge. I love
I
that.
ain't I
I
ain't
love
worried
that
about
call out.
I ain't worried about the inside.
I
The
love
one
that call out.
Obama's the one Obama's a defensive player. Natasha Howard is physical. We watched Leah Boston when she was at South Carolina, so we know she's physical.
I love that call out. Can
What?
can the backcourt actually rise to the occasion and be as physical as the front court can be defensively? That's a really good call out.
That's my only problem with Indiana. That's why they had 4. What is your backcourt going to do defensively? And with a coach like Stephanie Wright, y'all better be defensive ready because she is a physical minded coach herself. She just came from coaching Connecticut. I know why Connecticut was so physical, and every time you see them, you're like, all right, got to put our, in this case, put on our big woman pants on because we got Connecticut tonight. You know you went for a physical battle. That's what Stephanie Wright is going to bring to them, but it's going to take some time for it to flourish because she has a whole new team. Even though she's been there before, but it's a whole different team that she has not been around before.
Mm-hmm.
All right, sir. That is number 4. Who you have for number 3?
All right, number 3. I think I'm gonna go with the Lynx.
Minnesota, the
Yeah,
runner-up for the title last
yeah.
year. This
I'm gonna go with
comes
the
in at
Lynx.
number 3 for Cole Johnson. Why number 3?
I know that I know that they're stacked. Of course, you got Collier that's leading the charge. I'm just thinking that you're gonna have teams right now in front of them that if they remain healthy, it's going to be like a Clash of the Titans type of thing, and that's the only issue that I have with the Lynx not being number 1 or number 2. I just think that right now you have two big time um presences, big time studs in the WNBA right now, and I think they stand in the way between the Lynx and getting another ring for now.
He has Minnesota. Who does the Playmaker have at number 3? Well, I best be flipped again. The Las Vegas Aces. Coming at number 3 for me. Yes, they have the best player in the world, Asia Wilson, who was the MVP. They lost in the semifinals to the New York Nibley. They traded away Kelsey Plum, brought in Drew Lloyd. They did sign Park, Parker Tyson. Before we hopped on today, they released Deja Kelly today.
Mm.
So Deja Kelly is no longer with the Las Vegas Aces. Hopefully, some other team will give her a chance for her rookie season. You know, I got to see how Drew Lloyd fits in with the Aces.
Mm.
I got to see how that fits. I got to see how that works. I know it's going to take a minute. Yes, you still got Chelsea Gray. You still got Jackie Young. You still got the best player in the world. But also, what you don't see on here, they did lose Kia Stokes to the Seattle Storm, who was a big part outside of Asia Wilson, was a big part of their defensive tenacity for the Aces. That is a big loss. I don't think people really is looking in at that because Kia Stokes was great on the defensive end. And then when time needed, she would hit you. She would get you with them corner threes. So where I looked down and said, "Yeah, you know the faces, but do you understand what they lost though?" And I think that's what most people mess up when they talk WNBA. You can look at the additions and you can see the faces. You like, oh yeah, they. But do you see who they lost though? And Kiyoso was a big part of their defense. So I'm not sure how Jula, because Jula really don't play defense. If we're gonna be completely honest, she's called the gold mamba. That's only because how she is offensively, and she can put up points in bunches like Kobe used to. But Kobe used to get down defensively.
And people rarely talk about that, which is a shame.
I don't see that from Drew Lloyd when she was in Seattle. So I got to see how Drew Lloyd fits in with the Las Vegas Aces. So that's why they at number 3. So you can guess who's number 2 is.
Yeah, for you it would be Lynx.
Number 2 would be the Minnesota Lynx, the runner-up to the New York League for the WNBA Championship. The piece of card, as mentioned earlier, the Defensive Player of the Year. They didn't lose anybody. They ain't gaining anybody, but they ain't losing anybody. So the same team that was in the finals is the same team that's coming into the season. This means I got to put respect on the Minnesota Lynx. They are running it back with a sour taste in their mouth from losing in the finals a year ago. Number 2, if I had to guess for you, sir, it is the aforementioned Las Vegas Aces.
Mm-hmm.
Thought so.
And it's that for me because with the losses that you mentioned, and I agree that the Aces will feel them, and I think they felt it a little bit last year, considering they weren't there dominant selves that they were the previous couple of years, they have two factors that still remain: Azy Wilson on the court and Becky Hammond on the sideline. And to me, I just love how Becky is with that team, and she learned a lot from Pop, Greg Popovich, and that was the one thing about him. There were times when we picked against the Spurs when they didn't have the stud players, or if the stud players were on their way out, but he would always find a way to win, and he actually found a way to win chips when the guy that was the stud in his stable wasn't quite the stud. So I'm thinking Becky Hammond is going to dust some of those lessons off, and I think we're going to see a different team in the Aces this year. I think we're going to see a more focused team with them.
Hmm, okay. So you're saying we're gonna see a more focused Aces team, huh?
Hmm.
Gotcha.
I mean, because they were champion a couple years back, so yeah, that also leaves a nasty taste in your mouth because you think that team that has the ring doesn't belong there. We belong there, and I think that is the biggest motivating factor for them.
And number one is the obvious choice.
New York Liberty,
The New York Liberty.
Stacked. They're just freaking stacked.
32-8 last year, WNBA champions, John Cole Johnson Finals MVP. And even though I was mad that we had to let Kelly Thornton go to the newly Golden State Valkyries, y'all messed around and y'all let the New York Liberty grab Natasha Cloud. You talk about, wait a minute, filling a void? Well. Now I already talked about it, and y'all already know how I feel about New York Liberty, so it's only right for Cole Johnson to talk about it. And also the fact that we end up getting Natasha Cloud out of anybody.
The Liberty now, they are now in the mode of reloading, and as a Liberty fan, I think you should be happy about that. And I have some experience as a fan of a WNBA team that did something of the similar with the now unfortunately defunct Houston Comets, where when they went back to back to back to back, uh, being champs,
Yeah, a couple of those came at the Liberty's expense.
and a couple of those did come into Liberty's expense. Uh, right around championship number 3, you felt as though the team was reloading, and it's like, and the first 2 years, Cynthia Cooper was the player, and she was the player in the WNBA, without question, without debate. And then you started to see the um, rise of Cheryl Swoops for the 3rd year, and then you saw more of a bigger presence of Tina Thompson in the 4th year. So I think what you're witnessing with the Liberty is something similar. I don't think this will be the first. I don't think this will be the only ring they'll have in this era. They're gonna have some more. This team is just too talented to not win, but only one WNBA championship. They're gonna have to come up with some more rings, and and as long as Breonna Stewart is healthy, I mean, you got a chance. Just with her alone, and then you have other players. Look, look, Jonquel Jones, my kind of player. I don't care if you're a man or woman, my kind of player. If you basically saying, you see this painted area, it's mine, You my kind of player. That's how she is. I love a dog like that. Give me more of those post players where he said that paint area is mine, and you better understand it. If not, I'm gonna knock you straight up TF out the way. And I think to me, that I believe is going to be the X factor if the Liberty can win another chip this year. Miss Jones.
Finals MVP. I think that's why it's Natasha Cloud. To get a dog like Natasha Cloud after winning a title, that just
Oh,
doesn't happen.
she's gonna contribute this year too. I just think she's gonna have her say on the Liberty. I just think that her impact, as huge as it could be, I think won't be until next year. Not saying she won't have an impact at all this year. I just think next year that impact is gonna be real strong. Ooh, man.
So, Brianna Stewart, John Cole Jones in the front court. We will not have Belijah Laney, unfortunately. Laney Hamilton because of that knee. But in the back court, Natasha Cloud with Sabrina Ionescu. Still got Ford who was clutching the 3-point. We still got Narawa Salter, who was the savior for Game 5 to help bring home that championship. I'm looking forward to see what he does now, knowing the fact that she can be painted as the lady who helped bring on the championship because that Game 5 performance against Minnesota was unbelievable. The youngest sister of the Sableys was on one in Game 5.
On one. Baby, I'm on one.
So there you have it. Cole Johnson, he went with Indiana at 5, Phoenix at 4, Minnesota at 3, Las Vegas at 2, and New York at 1. But I went Phoenix 5, Indiana 4, Vegas 3, Minnesota 2, and the Liberty number 1. To get ready for the WNBA season that will be tipping off this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking forward to this and looking forward to talk some women's basketball because how I missed it.
Well, you won't be missing it now.
Oh man, it feels good to finally win a title in the WNBA.
I know this feeling, bro.
You know how tired I was of saying the
Almost.
the last remainder of the original team to not win a title. Like, bruh, this is something I don't want to win.
Yeah, being next year's champion sucks, and unfortunately, for many of those years, that's what people had to label the Liberty. Next year's champs, not this year.
It was 22 decades worth.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, man, why is we here? Can we? And then when we did get to the finals again, after what, so many years afterwards, after getting beat up by the Houston Comets and all the LA Sparks with Lisa Leslie.
Yeah.
We had to wait all this time. And when we did get back there, we ran into Asia Wilson and the Las Vegas Aces. Ooh, that's why they captured their first title. And it's like, man, can we finally win? And then this year we won one. Had to go through the Aces to get there. Before we had to get to the Lynx. That was not easy series, okay? But it feels good.
Good.
But it feels good. It feels good. Of course, I can't say the same thing for my Magic, unfortunately.
Well, they're on the come up, bro. They're on the come up. And it is not easy to play a team in the Celtics that are. This is not a shot at the Magic. That right now is a little more talented and a little more and a lot more seasoned than the Magic are.
You do realize your two teams combined has stopped me from winning 4 NBA titles, right? Actually, 3. Make it 3.
Oh, you're talking about 1995. Yeah.
Exactly. Which is the worst of all of them because they just beat us 4-0 and we had Shaq and Penny.
Shaq Penny, and you all had control of game number one at the end.
Oh, just like the Lakers, huh?
Mm-hmm. Look, I'm not that type. I'm not that type of fan where I'm like, yeah, we dominated the Magic. Nah, the only game that was truly that you could truly say that was game two. Outside of that, games 1, 3, and 4 were dogfights.
Hakeem dominated Shaq. I can say that.
Oh no, Hakeem did dominate Shaq. Shaq had his moments, but Hakeem dominated Shaq. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that.
And then
But
the, and then the one
but those are but the
the
1, 3,
one
and 4
game,
those are dogfights.
but the one game that Shaq actually did show up, that's when King the Jet Smith showed up.
Yeah, the fourth quarter of game one. Yep. You needed
I
every
am a
one of them threes.
have you noticed I be fans of unlucky teams here. Orlando being the main one. Well, the reason why because the Braves actually got through recently for me.
Well, I sort of understand that. That's how I felt with the Astros, and I did feel that way about the Rockets for a while. And of course, '94 made me not feel like that way about them anymore. So that was good.
So all the teams I root for has one title except for Orlando Magic. Get it together. I'm missing the NBA title here.
Well, they got a talent, bro. You will be. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised as how far they will advance next year and the year after that.